pickup with sander and plow, $59,396 for a replacement police cruiser and related equipment, $47,063 for a first pickup truck for the building department, $18,200 for a new computer server and related software for the police department, $12,500 for a new telephone system for town hall or for town offices with associated costs, $11,142 for a replacement mower for the highway department, $8,400 for recording equipment and software for the communications department, and $6,100 for the police department for a cruiser conversion for the K-9 unit.
Article 3 has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Thank you very much, Gene. The question is how much we'll have left. Actually, I didn't make that calculation, but I can tell you how much we have in our stabilization accounts to help show you how much. That's what I was actually going to talk about, is in our sewer stabilization account, we presently have $753,800, so that is sufficient to cover the $30,000. And in our capital stabilization account, we have $1.21628 million sitting in that account. So that is the reason that we chose to draw our capital improvements from that capital stabilization account, so that we would be able to not so much draw it down, but to use it instead of just having these things kind of sitting there that it had become rather large. So we chose to kind of take from that this year. It won't happen every year, but it helps. What it helps is it keeps the tax rate down a little bit when it comes down to that. Did that help out? Does anyone else have any questions concerning this? It's pretty big.
That's my job. Any further discussion? Thank you, Mr. Droshin. You can sit down. Hearing none, seeing none. This requires a 2/3 vote as well. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by saying no. Passes unanimously. Article 4. To see if the town will vote to appropriate a sum of money for the purposes of renovation and construction in the town hall, including without limitation asbestos abatement and temporary office relocation, borrowing costs associated with said program, and all other costs incidental or related thereto. And further, to meet this appropriation, to authorize the treasurer, with the approval of the select board, borrow said sum under Chapter 44, Section 7 of the Massachusetts General Laws, or any other enabling authority, and that the select board is authorized to take any other action necessary to carry out this project, and further, that any premium received by the town upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this vote, less any premium applied to the payment of the costs of issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this vote in accordance with Chapter 44, Section 20 of the Massachusetts General Laws, thereby reducing by a like amount the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs or to take any other action in relation thereto. Mr. Droshin.
I'm going to take a breath on this one. Wow. I move that the town appropriate $500,000 for design, renovation, and construction in the town hall, including asbestos abatement and temporary office relocation, and $33,000 for the town's sewer system evaluation survey project, including borrowing costs associated with said programs and all other costs incidental or related thereto. That to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the select board, is authorized to borrow said sum under General Law, Chapter 44, Section 7, or any other enabling authority, and that the Select Board is authorized to take any other action necessary to carry out this project. And further, that any premium received by the town upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this vote, less any premium applied to the payment of the costs of the issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this vote in accordance with General Law, Chapter 44, Section 20, thereby reducing by any like amount the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs.
Article 4 has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Yes, sir. Mr. Hutchison.
Because this is a large amount of money, I think a little bit of explanation is due. We did have a study done earlier on how much 2 phases of renovation to the town hall would cost. The approximate cost at that time was $268,000, call it $270,000. Since then, we've discovered that the problem of asbestos abatement is larger than we knew before. And in fact, the entire plaster interior of the old Opera House is of a plaster that contains about 2% asbestos. And we believe it's best to get rid of it all if we're going to get rid of any of it. So that has expanded our costs, as well as associated costs with having that work done, which including installing a subfloor in the 3rd floor attic. That, together with the rise in construction materials and the passage of time, leads us to believe that roughly the same project is going to cost a lot more now. We do hope to get it done for considerably less than this amount of money, but we would ask for authorization to spend more because we have not put it out to bid and we don't know what kind of bids we're going to get for it. It would be great if we only spent, say, 4/5 of the authorized funds. But again, with the uncertainty of bidding and also not knowing if there are going to be problems with the project, we thought it would be safest to ask for a larger authorization and then not use it if we didn't need it.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, seeing none. This also requires a 2/3 vote. All those in favor of Article 4 signify by saying aye. Any opposed by saying no? Passes unanimously. Article 5. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, transfer from available funds, or otherwise provide a sum of money to pay a bill from a prior fiscal year pursuant to the requirements of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 64, or to take any other action in relation thereto. Mr. Drosheen.
I move that the town authorize payment of the balance of an unpaid bill of $252 for fiscal year 2020 pursuant to the requirements of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 64, and further, that said amount be paid from free cash in the Treasury.
Article 5 has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, this requires a 9/10 vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by saying no? Thank you. Passes unanimously. Article 6. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, transfer from available funds, or otherwise provide a sum of money to provide payment for a consultant to revise the town's job descriptions, classifications, and compensation plan, including any incidental and related expenses, or to take any other action in relation thereto. Mr. Drosheen.
I move that the town appropriate and transfer $25,000 from general stabilization account for the purpose of paying a consultant to revise the town's job descriptions, classifications, and compensation plan, including all incidental and related costs.
Article 6 has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Mr. Hutcherson.
The last comprehensive personnel study, including job descriptions, classifications, and compensation, was done in 2001. While I intend to apply for a Community Compact Best Practices grant to get a new study done, I believe it is important enough to guarantee that it gets done by authorizing the money to be spent if we do not get the grant. Looking through the job descriptions, I found that a number of them are undated, which suggests that they date from that time. Various job descriptions have been updated over the last 20 years. The Council on Aging Outreach Worker in 2001, the Floating Clerk in 2004, the Library Assistant in 2008, Police Sergeant in 2009, the Principal Assessor and Library Director in 2012, the Highway Superintendent in 2013, the Assistant Town Clerk, Administrative Secretary to the Council on Aging, and the Assistant Tax Collector in 2015, for example. Another aspect of the study is the classification of these positions relative to each other. Since job functions have changed over time, various jobs may not be similar to the jobs they were considered similar to 20 years ago. A new classification would ensure that every employee was being considered fairly in terms of the whole organization. Finally, the compensation plan is outdated. With the lowest paying position slated to pay $13.24 an hour to start, and the state minimum wage slated to rise to $14.25 on January 1st of 2022, Dalton is far from competitive in its pay. I will note that municipalities are not required to pay state minimum wage, but I believe my point regarding competitiveness still stands. If Dalton wishes to both attract and retain high-quality staff, it will need to pay reasonable wages for the work required. Similarly, the highest hourly paid wage, which does not include contracted employees, is $31.70 an hour, or $59,342 per year at 36 hours per week, the Dalton Standard Work Week. For these reasons, I hope the town supports a comprehensive personnel study, including job descriptions, classification, and compensation.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, all those in favor of Article 6 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by saying no. Thank you. I should have mentioned that requires 2/3, and we got there. Article 7, to see if the town will vote to amend the vote taken under Article 4 of the annual town meeting of May 3rd, 2021, to increase or reduce the sums of money raised and appropriated for several departments for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2021, or to take any other action in relation thereto. Mr. Droshine.
I move that the town amend the vote taken under Article 4 at the annual town meeting of May 3rd, 2021, by raising and appropriating an additional $28,000 for the transfer station expenses account, in the same manner as specified under Article 4 at said annual town meeting, for the purposes of developing the recycling program, including all incidental and related expenses such as equipment.
Article 7 has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Yes. He'll get there. Go ahead and finish, yeah. Thank you. Don?
Some years ago, actually fairly recently, the Board of Health revised its regulations regarding recycling and had a more stringent standard, including for private haulers within the town. And we had been hoping to utilize the Pittsfield transfer station in order to dump our recyclables there. We'd been working with on them with a contract, and things were going along relatively well until we found that they were going to charge $150 per ton for recycling, which was about $145 more than we thought they were going to charge. This is part of a broader program in which the state is encouraging greater recycling, and in order to get some benefits from state grants, we have to have some regulations, and some of those include requiring private haulers to recycle. Because of that high cost, the Board of Health reworked, and our fine health agent, Jane Smith, they reworked the plan to have the capacity to weigh private haulers' trucks with scales at the Dalton transfer station so that private haulers would be able to tip their recycling in Dalton. That may have actually more of a beneficial effect than we thought, because the price of some plastics is rising. So we may actually get paid for some of our recycling again. You know, there's been quite a dip in the amount we've been able to recover, and we've had to pay for people to take our recycling, where in the beginning we were paid for people to take it. So it looks as though we may be returning a little bit in that direction. This will help us do that, but we do need more equipment to do that, and a large part of that is the scales that are required. And that's pretty much the extent of what I know. There may be others here who know more, but if there are any further questions, please raise them.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, all those in favor of Article 7 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by saying no. Thank you, that passes unanimously. Mr. Droshine. You want to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed by saying no. Thank you very much. Have a good night. Thank you for coming out.